Let me review this. We're taking the abbreviation from WF, and that gives us the what fraction? Boom. All right, the word of represents our times. 75 is equals 25. So we have multiplication between WF and 75. To undo multiplication, you divide. So we're dividing both sides by 75. So we're left with a WF over here. 25 over 75 reduces to 1/3. And that's your fractional value. Next problem, 7/5 of what number is 5/2? Again, just write it out with your actual numbers. 5/7 of its times. This time we have the words what number, so we're going to use WN is equals 5/2. If I were to take the time sign out of this and then move this over, have we seen problems like that? If think of the WN as being an X? Yeah. How do we solve for those, Kate? Divide by 5/7, which is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we want to multiply by the reciprocal of our coefficient, our number with the variable. So we're multiplying both sides by 7/5, because what's a number times its reciprocal going to equal? 1. So that leaves me with 1 WN, and I don't have to put the 1 there. And then I'll take this side times 7/5. Those will reduce, the 5s will, and we're left with 7/2. It's okay, even though the question says what number, that doesn't mean it has to be a whole number value or an integer. It can be a fractional value. So your number would be 7/2. Yes, sir.
Can we change it to an number? Like, I don't know, like 4?
Change it to a mixed number?
Yeah.
At the end? You can. It's not a big deal to me. If you do, just make sure that whenever someone's grading it, that they've checked to see if that's right. Okay, that if they marked it wrong, then you need to make sure and see if, ask me if it'll convert. I just assume you left them as improper fractional, but I'm not going to count them wrong if you count them right. If you do that. Okay. So we've looked at two problems. One where we divided by the whole number value, and that gave us our fraction. And this one, rather than going through that long process of dividing, we just multiplied by the reciprocal. Could we, on this problem, 75 times 75 equals 25. Could we have done the same thing on this problem by writing 75 as a fraction and 25 as a fraction? Could we have multiplied by the reciprocal of 75 over 1?
Yeah.
Yes, we could have multiplied both sides by that and had 1 over 75. You still get 25 over 75, and that would reduce to 1/3. Okay. So if you are someone that would like to be able to do it the same way every time, then write those whole numbers as fractions over 1 and multiply by the reciprocal. All right, last, well, it's not the last one, but this one's easy. 5/7 of 5/2 is, and there's that what number again, so WN. Just multiply. I'm not going to have to manipulate this problem, am I? Because it's already set up as multiplication. So Kenny, what am I going to end up when I multiply these two?
25 over 14.
Great. Good job.
I said hi, don't
You should
forget
put
that.
Aaron as
You know, he probably doesn't even know how to spell that.
E-R-Y.
Since Aaron said
D-A-Y.
Okay, one more. This one, the point of this is they just kind of rearranged the way that they set it up. So they're going what number still,
Equals 7
and then they have the is instead of the of, so equals 7/9 of 450. Right, 450 over 1. This one works out, and I want to discuss this because I've seen it on tests. This one works out when 9 goes into 450 because that's 50, and 7 times 50 is 350. that's no big deal. But what I have seen some people do, let's suppose hypothetically, make it up, just say this said 7/8 and this was 450. What I'm seeing people do is take the 450 and you're actually dividing it by 8. And if we do that, that's 5, 40, 50 is 6, 48, 20. So decimal is going to be 2, 16, 4, 40. So that one worked out. Okay. But then you have to take that 56.25 times 7,
Which is easy.
which works out. But the problems we've had have had, let's say this ended up giving me 0.6 repeating. Okay. We can't accurately and exactly take 56.6 repeating times 7 to get the correct value. It'll be off a little bit. When these have fractions in them, you don't need to divide these down to a decimal. Reduce it if you can, like this situation here. You can reduce each by 2 to make that 4, and this would be 225. And then it won't reduce anymore, so then just multiply across and leave it as a fraction. But don't try to turn that into a decimal, because if it's a decimal that doesn't work out, it's not going to work out evenly, and you're not going to get an equivalent value. Okay?
Are those 7 9s?
It was, but he was hypothetically.
This is a yeah, I changed that to an 8 instead of a 9. So it
Alright.
would end up being something like that over 4. Alright, so the minutes are pretty much correct on this, so you can, it's 8:36. So your assignment is problem set 48, 1 through 30, and it will be due Tuesday, which is one of those situations, the more days we have, sometimes it's harder to get that done, so really work on it now. Test Monday. If I remember right, this test was a little easier than the other one.
It's a minute faster.
As long as you're not next to someone, I'll let you. But if that helps you to work, then go for it.
I'm going to go over my.
There, or Xavier, what's not said by them?
I'll just sit back and listen.
See the movie. That's better.
Mr. Covenant, last night when I wrote insurance player was number 5 and we put her as post on 8 or something.
Yeah. Denominator.
All Katie had to do is just pass it along and then she could do it.
Just
She
roll
were like
up.
right, her hands were like right here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. I got a question. Oh, number 5 or 4.
That's an overall average.
You're it's still recording, right?
Dawson, would you hit the square button on the recorder thing?